Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Real Eyes Radio. No matter where you are, no matter what time it is, no matter how your day's going so far, this is an opportunity to take in something entirely new, entirely different, and restart your day with a little chaos magic. This is our first episode, and I think when people get together and have authentic conversations, there's something so much more magical and powerful about those vibrations through words, through our spoken word, than what we can communicate on our platforms. And myself, Human Vibration, also Rambo and Murph, we exist on Twitter. We're all on Twitter. That's where we live. We share ideas all day long, all of our thoughts, all of our ideas, how we get there, why we think the things that we do. You know, we have a very limited space to communicate that on Twitter, and we do, and we try to. And what we wanted to do with this show, with Realize Radio, is expand that light, and through sharing in a more meaningful way, in a more extended way, I think it's going to make it easier for all of us to see a little bit better. This is episode 1 of Real Eyes Radio. We're jumping right in.
When you have it on, you kind of do feel like you're there, and you forget that you're actually in the game. You're on a game, and you forget it. That you can sweat off it and everything, and you're in this virtual reality game.
Yeah. Hey, Murph, you're on mute. There you go. Murph, we were just talking about Brother Berg. You follow him, right?
Yeah. It's crazy how actually I found him randomly.
Yeah.
Early on, and I hired him to do a reading for me and my family.
Cool. Oh, very cool. Like an energy reading or like a gematria reading? Gematria
thing. I was trying to figure out. It was in August.
Cool.
And it was like and it turned out to be the 33, like a 33 month for me.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Cool.
And August was kind of when I found you guys. I was like, August was like the weirdest month for me, energy wise.
And his podcast just dropped on 3/3. It was yesterday. Yeah. I know. And it was Chris X Matt's Conspiracy's 33rd podcast episode.
Whoa.
Well, good thing I was recording, because I think that's a great way to just jump in.
I like his stuff.
I love his stuff. I love this community. I love the conversations that are happening. I love that this week I was filled with so many good podcasts. I heard like the one Brother Berg's today. It just hit so big because Rambo sent it to me, and he was like, "You got to listen to this podcast," and it's already on my radar because, you know, I've been a fan of his for a long time, Brother Berg, and just the way his mind thinks is really interesting. And he's not just numbers, you know, he's got a really cool way of thinking. And then to hear all that today, like, it was so motivating. He's got like a really motivated. You got to listen to the episode. Anyway, episode 33, Conspiracy. Very good episode.
Definitely worth a listen.
And Rambo was on a podcast. We got to watch him on a Home Wrecker podcast this week, which was actually an incredible episode as well. Very inspiring as well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. With and just Home Wrecker in general. I love Monique. I love Alex. They're just, aside from podcasting, the two of them, Monique and Alex, are incredible human beings. And so it's so cool, this little community.
You know them as well? Human vibration. I find it funny I say human vibration. Yeah, but I have to. Yeah,
that's my name. Yeah,
you do them as well.
Yeah, I guess it was a few, maybe just not even that long ago. It was this year. I recorded with them, and we did the whole thing on like John Benet Ramsey, the whole thing. Like, it was kind of like a crash course in human vibration stuff, and we talked about everything that was real, everything that was fake. But then we got into just much more like meaningful life conversations. That's what I loved about that show, and really a lot of shows that we have all collectively been on, I think that we get in there to talk about one thing, like heavy conspiracy stuff and what exists and what doesn't exist, and it always goes into a more like meaningful, metaphysical, bigger conversation about like, what does this all mean, and what's our even purpose here, and that actually being our purpose here in life is kind of what really hit home with the podcast I listened to this morning with Brother Burke. It was all about like finding your true purpose in life, and the purpose of life is to find your purpose, and how to do that.
Yeah, it's a really inspiring podcast, that one. I really enjoyed it. I was giving some thought to that myself today, like what's our purpose and how are we here, and how they can tell us, like, for instance, like so many million years ago, dinosaurs was here and tell us where they was, but they can't tell us where we was, or how we got there, and they give us many different confusing reasons
right.
why.
And they're always finding new, they're always trying to pinpoint like when the first version of the Neanderthal is, or the first version of the humanoid, and they keep finding them earlier and earlier and in different places. And then they find these, twin replicas on different, planes of the planet. And all of a sudden we have a new timeline and a new, human. It's interesting how our deep human history keeps getting rewritten, and we don't really ask questions. And to Rambo, your point, we know so little about our short human history. We barely have any sort of documentation from our own hand that goes back past 5-6 generations.
My theory kind of today I was thinking about is things are so messed up when it comes to the 19th century, like a drop-off point where kind of nobody knows what happened prior to a certain date. It's almost kind of feasible that people, maybe we really don't know. And the people that are pulling all this crazy stuff are kind of doing it because if they told us the truth, most people wouldn't be able to handle it.
Yeah.
Because the big argument that I was kind of having, a kind of passive, I don't know if are we being recorded?
Yeah, go for it, buddy.
Maybe it was a little bit of a passive aggressive conversation about, kind of coming out and saying, someone was trying to goad me into saying that everything, that the people in control were evil, right? And the way I look at it is kind of when we're on this labyrinth, right? Like this, what AYZ wrote was kind of like we're in a good versus bad sim game, right? The moment we brandish people as evil, we stop questioning it. So we stop getting to the truth. And that's like a detour kind of thing, is to say someone's evil. Because once you say someone's evil, you don't go any further. You don't ask the real questions and maybe find out why something really happened. Like maybe there was a reason why all of these things that we think are so evil happened that actually were to protect us from something that could have been worse.
That's so interesting.
Possible, but nobody wants to hear that, right?
Agreed. It's quite probable and quite possible they drop these intellectual bombs in our psyche to where it's so blinding, it's so full, robust, just whatever story it is, that we're satiated by it intellectually. We don't even think that there would be a bigger question to ask, and we just kind of take the bait, hook, line, and sinker. And that's kind of like for all of history. If they can just make the story grand seeming enough, we don't ask questions around it, even if it begins to appear nonsensical, through our new lens that we're seeing through now. Things
because like 9/11, right? Like I was thinking about it and all of the number stuff, right? Like the plane crashing in at 8:46 a.m., which comes out to 18, which divided with 3, it's 666, right? So with the detour almost is what they want. Because I was trying to figure out why they do this, right? And most people would say, oh, that's evidence of the satanic ritual, right? So these people are evil. It's a satanic ritual. They stop at that point, and they'll never get to the question of maybe it's something to do with energy, right?
Right. So absolutely,
they put these things in there to say it's almost like a test to see, okay, well, you call us evil, and you're not going to get any further, like a game, and it's called the social deduction game. And a lot of video games are placed on that. And it's a whole thing of people will bluff, like you're on the good team or the evil team. And the evil people may not be evil, but they're bluffing that they're evil. Make any sense?
That makes me think, I love that you compared it to a video game. I think essentially this whole realm operates very similar to how video games, we've always been told they operate. But one of the things, a trope of video games is you're always going to have to face the evil big boss. And the only way to win the game is to get past this evil big boss. What if that is not defeating them physically, but just understanding metaphysically that there is no evil big boss? And so therefore you have gotten over it. You have defeated the big boss. Maybe in a way, that's what we need to do within this video game, where we see our, our evil overlords of our Bill Gateses and, pick your poison, really, with these big names that, your Jeff Bezos who's taking over the world, your big Bill Gates who's taking over, the railroads and the food industry and literally everything on our planet, buying up all, the royalty, all the evil overlords, the Rothschilds, all these people. What if just poof, none of them exist at all?
Yeah, and it's kind of like stepping back and being able to see that it is actually a game, and they're maybe not all real at all. You kind of left the game, haven't you, really? And you're watching it from the outside, you're watching everybody else. We're kind of watching other people playing the game, still looking for Satan and looking for 666 and stuff like that. It's like kind of like we're spectators of the game now. That's how I feel I am, anyway.
Bill Gates has taught us more than probably any person in 2020 ever did.
Oh, wow. True. About ourselves. Well, when you see him like we do, he's taught other people other things. Some people believe in Bill Gates in a sense that they truly believe that he is this either, savior figure, this genius savior, and he's all good. And people actually, there are people that believe that. They only know that version of Bill Gates. It's in People magazine, and he's doing good for the world. And he's saving the world through vaccines. He's saving the world through impossible meats. He's saving the world constantly. And that's their version of Bill Gates. There's a whole other version of Bill Gates. It's like evil overlord, and all of his vaccines are harming children overseas.
Their Twitter Bill.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got the good and we've got the evil. And that's really where he exists for most people. And then they've got like the tiniest little subset of us, these rogue agents that are calling out his authenticity, fidelity, existence altogether, and saying, well, maybe he's not good. Maybe he's not evil. Maybe he's just a character that has been
beyond evil, beyond.
Yeah.
He's actually a Nietzschean figure.
Tell me how. That's interesting.
He's beyond. He basically, the lesson of him is to basically take us beyond. He's almost like if you read like the old things. I don't know. I've been married for too long, so my books are in the basement, gathering stuff like that. But when I used to be into Buddhism and Buddhist monks and things like that, where it's almost like a Zen teacher who hits the devotee over the head to teach him a lesson. A Zen teacher didn't sit down and spell things out for the student. He gave the students puzzles to figure out.
Oh, maybe that's why it's getting more and more fake looking for all of us, because we've been receiving these puzzles our whole life without realizing it. We've just been constantly shown all these things that don't really make sense.
Yeah, and it's like them characters of Bill Gates, he's got like that duality thing on him again, aren't they? Like we're saying now, some people believe he's evil, some people believe he's good, and then when you work it all out, you start to look, is he fake? That's where I'm at with it. Like, I feel like I'm in the middle of him now, of both his sides he shows to the public, and I'm kind of looking straight down the middle, like, is he even real? And
okay, welcome to Realize Radio. I did.
We started already.
No, we started. But it's just like, these are the we're getting in the weeds on Bill Gates not existing. I want to take a step back. How do we get here? How does the three of us individually, how do I get to a point where I'm questioning Bill Gates? I think for me, his character is so big and such a boogeyman that I'm already suspicious of anyone who has that much of a lore around them. And then, something that I look into is color truth. Truth basically pictures telling us a million truths, but not the ones we see. And colors are one of those. And I always see him in purple. Bill Gates is always in purple. And now with the color change, now he's in gray and yellow. And that's, the new kind of tonality to look out for in 2021 as grays and yellows. But before that, it's just like every sweater he wears, it's always purple. And for me, that, that tells me that the message is not authentic. The message is a form of manipulation, but also the messenger, Bill Gates himself, calls into question if this character is always wearing purple and pink, or a combination of that, shades of that. Then potentially it means that his character is also a fabrication, is also a manipulation of light, which is something that we all kind of look into. But how can someone so big, how can we get here? We're questioning someone so big. It's kind of wild,
It's just multiple roles that he plays. He plays every role there is in the public. Like your vaccines, your food, your computers.
Computer is right. Our whole lives, he was the computer guy.
He's a billionaire. You always put that on them. That puts respect on the name straight away. Then you can't question if they're real because they're a billionaire.
Right.
And for me, it's like that's why I kind of got to the way that I feel he's taking all these roles he plays, and he always looks. It's the colours. When the colours come along, that's really what made me think he was really fake. But then you start to look at the quality of the video that you see him, and he just doesn't look real on the videos. He kind of looks like a cutscene in a computer game when he's talking. That's how I kind of look at him. I don't look at him as like we're looking at each other now on the cameras and whatever. I kind of look at him like he's on like a PlayStation game or something, when he's talking. I'm yet to see a video where he's convinced that that guy is stood in the rooms, where he's being videoed.
Right. Yeah. There could be someone. I often think that it looks like a head identity is like overlaid onto a body. Like the hands are always doing or just a straight up puppet. The hands are always doing something ridiculous. His hands will have this ridiculous movement to them.
Yeah, and did he call him the computer guy because he's actually just made from a computer? Is he a product of Microsoft? That's something that I've thought for a long time. Is he just a product of Microsoft?
The computer guy.
That's why they call him the computer guy, and they can do whatever they want with him because he's just digital all along,
Right. They tell us the truth. They always tell us the truth. So for it to be literally the computer guy, that would make the most sense. It's already where I'm at intellectually. So I like backtracking to that because it really is like, oh man, they have been telling us this whole time. And he was not just the computer guy, but he was also the virus guy. Like his computers, the Microsoft machines were always getting infected with viruses, and you had to get all that virus software.
And it's here now to cure the virus.
That's it all coming back around. All comes back around. It always does. Yeah. Interesting. Bill Gates. That he's and the whole all the computer whizzes, all the your Steve Jobs, Elon Musk. He's not necessarily seen as the computer whiz, but that's how he was a software developer back in the day. I think it was PayPal, I guess, that he founded and sold, and that whole origin story is quite strange with his mother and
they all come from the basements, don't they? They all come from the unidogs or the basement.
They all come from the basement or the garage.
Find out about them. They all get put to us in the public because they want us to know about them. And first off with all of them, they're a billionaire. That is the first thing we hear. They're a billionaire and the richest men in the world. And that straight away makes them real. It makes them respected.
Exactly.
And it gives them power straight away, And there's no proof that they've even come up with these goods or anything that they're telling us. In my opinion, they're just a name and a face put on products, and then they have the influence and inspiration and everything for people who want to be like that, which you can't really ever get to their position.
that formula is what they used as well to establish Jeffrey Epstein by writing all these articles about this financier who was wildly successful in New York, and nobody had ever heard of him, but there became many articles about him, and that was his entree, was just these articles that established his prowess financially and with the ladies, and all they need is some words on a page, just and some some graphics, and these people themselves are graphics, and you can present any story to the public, and you're right, if they cage it in the rich success story, especially like a wildly successful, they love the college dropout trope, I dropped out of college, wildly successful immediately, invented this thing that never existed, all these things, like your Zuckerberg formula, just kind of came out of nowhere and then influenced our world. And it has this weird connection to DARPA, and that's a whole rabbit hole that you can get. But like, yeah, all these inventions, they're made by these characters, all these things that shape our life. Amazon owns our life now, and it was just made by some character named Jeff Bezos. His name sounds like Bozo the Clown, his name, he's a clown. It's crazy.
And all the earliest pictures, every earliest picture, what color shirt have they got on their earliest picture? All of them.
Right. Purple. All of them. All. If you Google early Elon Musk, if you Google early Jeff Bezos, if you Google early, Bill Gates, when they're jumping around on that stage doing that ridiculous dance, they're all in purple. Always, always, always purple. Yeah. Just to, that's just another layer. Like, just sometimes I try to look for that last too. Like I try to confirm things outside of the purples and not dismiss things immediately. And then if it's got purples too, I'm like, okay, that's the nail in the coffin. That's the nail in the coffin for this reality, this particular reality.
Do you guys realize this on a practical sense? Like we talk about the digital stuff, we talk about the fakery, we talk about the storylines, but in a practical sense, one of the reasons why kind of the normal person will look at this and think it's completely insane, right? Mm-hmm. Because the implications of this are so vast in terms of financial fraud.
Yes.
Right? I mean, we're talking about people who have their life savings invested in companies that are based upon potentially corporations, legal corporations that were created by people that don't even exist.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking about trillions of dollars. The market shares of these companies are trillions of dollars.
Yes.
Whoa, pretty intense.
It's extraordinarily intense. And I'm wrapped in, I've got a Fidelity 401k that I'm looking at, and it's just, I understand that as well. However, I have this crazy feeling, this gut feeling that if the world does shift, where we realize that all of these systems are fake, and we see the inherent truth over the fakery, and we let go of these systems, it's not that they are going to crumble and destruct and we are all destructed. I think they are just going to dissolve like dust, and we are going to just naturally and without painlessly move seamlessly into a different version of humanity. I know that sounds absolutely insane, but I think it's like a spell. And I think that a lot of this fakery could exist merely and only and directly because we believe in the existence of it.
What do you guys think about this like the deep fake Tom Cruise thing that's going around? It's been on every channel, every news, TV shows. It's been trending on Twitter for a full week. It's been on my trending list. Deep fake Tom Cruise, and I wonder what you think. Why so they're trying to push it so much.
I think this is so interesting.
How scary it is, and what can be done, what bad things can be done using deep fakes, everything that. I'm seeing a lot of that from like mainstream channels and stuff.
They're all missing the point, though. They're all missing the point that this stuff has been around for a long time. And Rambo, you've been looking into this forever. And every scene that you see is all completely CGI. It's not just one element. It's not just the background. It's not just the foreground. It's not just the person. It's not just the fire. It's not just the pyrotechnic. It's like every element is layered on separately, and every element is computer generated. And this has been going on for a really long time. So, and what now they're focusing on, so all the stuff that you have been hammering home on for as long as I've been reading your stuff, it's finally coming to light, and they're making it seem like it's new, like it's almost like now we can talk about it because it's just coming to this, it's just become to a space where it's good enough, because the Tom Cruise thing that we're seeing, and everyone's seeing that because that's so good and so many people are seeing it, like they have to kind of talk about it now.
Another thing I thought that they're doing with it is to bring in back the Q thing and all these arrests. And that they're going to say, oh, it was actually deep fakes and all this stuff. What we've been, and it kind of makes the Q people then look like it still holds water with the Q. That all these arrests of Hillary and all that, and it was they're going to come back and say it was a deep fake, and then it'll make a whole new form of entertainment for the Q followers again. It'll bring that back to life again, I think.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Kind of died at the minute.
I've got a little theory about this. Have you seen the reports about? Well, first of all, let's talk about Tom Cruise, right? Tom Cruise. When I was asking the question of why are we seeing all these deep fakes and why is it Tom Cruise, right? And while we've been sitting here talking about it, I thought to myself, we're looking at the deep fakes right now. Who's to say that like the Mission Impossible movies that we saw, that wasn't all completely deep fake, right? And then I thought, all of the marriages that Tom Cruise has had with Nicole Kidman, the
Katie Holmes,
the Katie Holmes lady, and even his first one or something like that, they all ended when the women were 33.
Oh wow!
All of them.
Wow. And his first wife brought him into Scientology.
There's some kind of weird thing with that. But he also, the way that he was kind of used in the news as one of these characters that I think Rambo, I think both of you guys talked about how Tom Hanks was this character that we build up, but only to destroy him, right? And make him look like the fall guy for certain social issues or whatnot, right? In the same kind of vein, Tom Cruise is kind of similar to that. Like he was made out to be like a laughing stock for so long, like him jumping on the couch with Oprah, stuff that he said about the psychiatric stuff with Brooke Shields.
Yes.
I'm starting to think that he doesn't exist.
Tom Cruise. Absolutely.
Something else as well with Tom Cruise. They've always pushed on how much he performs his own stunts in his movies and stuff like that. That's been a big thing with Tom Cruise. So he performs all his own stunts and everything. What did they say about stuntmen the other day?
That stuntmen don't even exist. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's all CGI.
Yeah, about stuntmen actually being all CGI. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that's true because he's always like, oh yeah, Tom Cruise doing his own climbing up the building in Shanghai, or just jumping off the helicopter, and it's like, no, he didn't. He didn't do any of that stuff. He doesn't exist. The stuntman doesn't exist. It's all CGI. It's so interesting.
You remember how the whole thing where it was almost like a crime thriller, the story of how Katie Holmes left him, and she had a burner cell phone and threw the cell phone in the trash, and Katie Holmes' father, who was a lawyer, was helping her, and it was this all like it was almost like it was like a Mission Impossible movie, but Katie Holmes was the Ethan Hunt character, escaping from Tom, right? It was all bullshit.
All bullshit, very looshy. And now there's a whole narrative about him not seeing his daughter. And through my new lens, through human vibration, whenever I look at that little girl, she's not real. She looks like she's talk about a computer generated face where they just took two things and mashed them together. They took Katie Holmes and put it into the machine, and they took Tom Cruise and put it to the machine and said, do your thing, machine. And they put out like a strange looking young girl that looks like it looks very transitional, the face. There's so much going on, but it's like Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes through time. It's very.
She looks like one of those characters from Boys from Brazil. The movie, it was basically a movie about Dr. Mengele escaping to South America and basically making a camp in South America in Argentina and basically genetically creating these children to look like Hitler. With these deep blue eyes and everything. Whenever I see, I'm comparing Suri Cruz to Hitler. Okay,
yeah, easy. Well, all of them are characters. All of them are characters.
She's got the deep blue eyes and very penetrating eyes with the black hair. It's very Hitlerish. Sorry,
that's true. Yeah, call a spade a spade.
And that's why I say about these actors when I say they're fake, because like they become heroes in movies and then they become heroes in the public, and then they're entertaining us outside of the movie. So Tom Cruise's like relationships. We're all watching, all these kids or whatever. We're all watching his whole the entertainment he's putting on, the character Tom Cruise is putting on outside of the movies.
Right.
So that's what brings me to think of that. These actors aren't real. They're just either played by actors or they're not real at all outside of the movie. So it's just all a form of entertainment, and like all these public, like the public spats, the public things of relationship changes and everything. It's all entertainment. We're all reading it in the magazines and stuff like that. It's constant. There are always actors always acting.
Yeah, I heard you make that point on the Homewrecker podcast, and I was like, exactly right. We know they're actors. They play in movies. It does not stop off screen. It does not stop when they are not on our TV set. It does not stop when they are, not on our in the movie theater. They are always acting. Everything they do is a form of theater. Yeah. And I heard that. I was like, yes, that's exactly right. And that's why they have all these extraordinarily tragic, loosey stories around these our favorite actors, our favorite celebrities. Tom Cruise, yeah, he's so successful at going up and down. Like they have him be this hero and then this wacky guy, and then they build him back up to now he's back at Mission Impossible, and he's like, he's in the news again because he's in COVID. He was like, demanding everybody be COVID compliant, and he was like a savior for COVID. And they could bring him back with that, and like, oh, Tom Cruise is keeping Hollywood in check, and he was back to being a savior again when. He
was involved with 9/11 as well.
He was very much involved with 9/11 with the
Scientology stuff with the firefighters.
They were trying to do healing on the energy healing, essentially, or e-meter healing, brain healing through their Scientology readings, the e-meter readings. Yeah, and he was a bit. Yeah.
It shows they can do whatever they want with them. Anything they want, they can be anything they want because they're just characters.
They're just characters. And Scientology is very strange too. I hope one day we do a little bit of a deep dive as well, and just the world of Scientology, because as far as if there is a religion tied to Hollywood, it's Scientology, and it's so strange. Sometimes I think that Scientology is just like kind of a facade where it's not real. I mean, it's not real for sure. It's not real, but also like
it's not real. Like it's really not real.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so not real. God, now we're cooking with gas. Yeah. So you're. Ugh.
I mean, like, do people really believe? Like think about it.
People that are involved, what are they doing? Are they really involved because they actually believe in it, or are they like some sort of contract based where you have to say you're a member of Scientology to like keep this facade going?
I think it's a facade. It's a facade to make to delegitimize certain ideas.
Oh, wow.
Because there's a certain, there's stuff in Scientology that actually, maybe 10% of it is actually some decent stuff.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the power of the mind.
Yeah, absolutely. They always do that. They always
the power of perception. They talk about there's like 10% good stuff, just like sandwiched in with 90% crap.
And they always do that with when I say they, it's just whoever's crafting this narrative for us to ingest. I feel like they put a tiny bit of truth in with the deception. And sometimes people will miss the truth. Like they'll just be in the deception and totally miss the truth. Or I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it, but I do believe that in things that seem very corrupted and corruptible, there might be like a kernel of truth that we should all be looking for. Even like the Q stuff, it's batshit crazy, but I do believe that there's some kernels of truth within the Q stuff. Yeah.
And for me, the main line is we are watching a movie. That is
right.
The big that's what I take from that as a truth is we're watching the movie. And
right.
The followers of it think it's all like the Trump versus Biden kind of movie, but it's not. The whole thing is a movie. Everything's a movie in my opinion of what we're seeing, and they're telling us, basically just telling us that you're watching a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Every single word of Q could be wrong. All of Q could be wrong, but he is right in that we are watching a movie right now. Like what was playing out in front of us, it's a projection. A movie is what? A projection onto a plane. And what is this plane? We are on a planet. We are literally on a plane. We're experiencing, and what is being projected onto? False light, all the light from our screens, from the media, from everything. We are literally walking, living, breathing audience to a movie projection. It's pretty interesting. It all is a form of movie. And now that we're really looking into the kind of unreality of everything we're experiencing through our screens, sometimes in our everyday lives, through our systems that we experience, you know, we're kind of like, we do see the curtains a bit. And I see the things appearing, which appeared very normal to me before, ways of life now appear very theatrical. And it's like, God, what are we doing here as humans? Just in the in the audience to our own show without realizing it.
Yeah. And it all influences our lives right across, doesn't it? Everything we do is influenced by what we see, everything.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it the other day, like we don't have our own thoughts, and anything we've thought of has been put there by what's been projected into our reality for us to consume, really.
From birth, yeah.
And aspire to be like these characters in a movie that aren't really real.
Right. All of our dreams, all of our aspirations, or you know, and we teach kids, you know, what do we teach kids? You know, when I grow up, I want to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
You know,
or they all want
you don't tell them the diaper part.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you also don't tell them that you can't go to space.
They all want to be like a sports star, or they're all like the favorite main character, like the LeBron James or Ronaldo, or it's always, I want to be like that guy. Right. I want to be like him. And they're always on TV. That's where it comes from.
Our false idols create false paths for us to follow in their footsteps. Yeah.
They give you your beliefs as well. Everything you believe kind of comes from there, you know. Yeah. Everything, really.
Everything you think is important. Yeah. Everything you find important.
Everything comes from your screen, and from before TV, from your radio, before then it was from your newspaper. It's just always been there to get your beliefs from what's happening in the world, what's going on. You're just led to believe that's what it is. But I did talk about this today. Like, we don't have our own beliefs, do we? Either. That's another thing. So if you cleared your mind of everything we've ever known, what would it be? You know, what would we think? You know, and I'd love to know what it would be. I'd love an experience of what it would be with no influence of TV, radio, media, anything. What would it be like?
Yeah.
We've still got our attention. We've got everybody's attention, whether we like it or not. And what would it be if there was no TV, no radio, no nothing to begin with? We'd know exactly what. I feel like we'd know our true potential in life, and they keep us from knowing that and knowing why we're here.
Right.
And
I agree.
All within us.
I agree. We know birds fly south, you know, without having any sort of training. They know how to build their nests without any sort of verbal instruction. We know from nature that animals are embedded with everything they need. Everything.
Natural instinct.
Yeah, natural instinct. Yeah, and we are no different. We are also born with a set of insights, inner knowledge, and skills and abilities. And I think that everything we really need to know exists within inside of us. But then modern life, our language, our modern understanding of language, our modern understanding of physics and the world around us, every input in our lives is designed to detach us from our inner sight, our insight, and our inner knowledge.
Give you stuff to follow straight away. So, like, you got all your religions to follow and
immediately
everything. Yeah, straight away.
Even before you understand language, you're still saying you don't have to know how to read yet, but you're still, you know, your religion, your religious practices, and you know, even before you can write, you know, you're doing your ritualistic behaviors with your family and going to church every Sunday. And I'm not saying that these are negative things, but these are patterns. These are patterns that
you have to put a label on you straight away of what you're following as well. So you can't have your own beliefs. You're not allowed. You know, it's like they don't allow it. Yeah, you're not allowed to question it either. They've made that so it's all protected. Whatever religion you are, you can't question it because you're a phobic of it or something. You know, it's all, everything's got a label on it from birth, hasn't it, really?
Yeah, from birth, from cradle till grave, indoctrination. And we
straight away, people say you was thinking of your beliefs as a 1-year-old, then you're thinking of a flying man through the sky straight away. You know,
right.
They put that straight on you, so you think. And up until 10 years old for me, I thought there was a flying man in the sky. You know?
You thought that, oh, because Santa.
Yeah.
Santa's the ultimate psyop. Santa's the first, he's the original sin. You know, he's the blight on our consciousness. Santa's everyone's first and favorite psyop. You know, I don't like Santa. I think Santa should come to an end. I keep waiting for him to come to an end. I thought he would come to an end with Corona because people couldn't go see him. You know, they couldn't go sit on Santa's lap because of the coronavirus. I thought that this might put an end to Santa, but people still found a way. But what I don't like about Santa, you know, I do think it's important that we teach, there's like an underlying like goodness to Santa, which like, I don't even believe in the story, but apparently it's like St. Nicholas and with, you know, generosity and, you know, spreading, you know, tide and joy and good tidings during a very specific time of year. Okay. That's great. I don't even know if that's true, but what Santa is he is just a supreme minefield from the beginning. You know, like as a kid, you know, you have to go through this like trial by fire where you're taught, where you learn that your parents have been lying to you, and then you have to reconcile that, and then you also then have to learn that this lie is so special that you then have to do it too. You have to lie later on. You know, this lie can't end once you come to reconcile it. You can't. The lie will never end. Even once you figure out Santa's not real, it won't end because you have to live in this world where we still believe in Santa, and you can't ruin it for the kids. And so the idea of Santa is just like this ever-present deception that we're all just playing with, and we just it's like money, this shared illusion that we all agree is a certain thing, and then
value. Yeah, we all agree that the money that's been given to us is worth something.
Worth anything. Anything. Ooh, wow. Okay, so we've established quite a few fakeries. Do you guys want to take a little break?
From there, though, from the sun, then they go into your astronauts and space, and it's just fantasy after fantasy.
Oh, space. Okay. Yeah, I want to talk about space.
Next, really.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about space next.
After that, and you've got your flying rocks flying through space, and it's just fantasy after fantasy after fantasy, keeping us in a fantasy world. You know, instead of just letting us work out for ourselves what it is, come to our own beliefs, should I say, of what we think it is. They're telling us what it is. And
the idea of space keeps us in prison. Yeah, the idea of space keeps us locked into a very specific understanding of our world. Just to hold space in your mind, to hold the concept and idea and visualization of space in your mind, you have to cancel out that you are special. You have to cancel out that you are like powerful and meaningful, and you have to accept that no, you're just but a speck of a speck of a speck of the infinite universe. Right. And yeah. Okay. All right. I think there's a lot to discuss there. Let's take a break, and we'll be back in just a bit. Why they want to see a rocket do a flip? Well, okay. I don't know if people want to see rockets do flips, but I think that that's what they want us to see. I think that they want us to see this kind of like cartoony Looney Tunes version of rocketry, of rockets and how rockets work. And so so a lot of like NASA and SpaceX stuff is that those kind of cartoony looking rocket maneuvers, whether they're exploding or they're going up and doing flips, and strange. Yeah.
It's all fantasy again.
It's all fantasy. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But like, my thing is when I go through the comments, and if you dare comment that it's fake, you've got to be prepared.
Oh yeah, people will take you down if you say anything's fake. If you say in the comments, because if I will quote something and kind of like share it that way and say it's fake, I get a lot of positive. But if I go in the comments of a post and post that it looks fake, yeah, I am opening myself up for everyone who's supporting, this user who's ever posting. I'm kind of opening myself up for the firing range. But actually, I usually find that people come on board. They're like, yeah, it does kind of look fake. So you can, I don't know. I think it's worth jumping in. I think it's worth commenting directly. Sometimes I comment directly on Elon Musk stuff because he just posts the most ridiculous things. And I think it's time that people realize that he's just a character and a puppet. He really is. He's a puppet, and everything, all the profound things he appears to be tweeting, and all the silly things that he's tweeting, and all the market changing things that he tweets. Some of the things he does actually moves the market, but he's just a character, and
he gets people on side, even in like the truth community.
Oh yeah, people love him in the truth community. They love him, or they hate him.
They think he drops truth. That's the thing. They think that he's kind of like a rebel in the camp.
Yeah, it's impossible to drop truth. So if you're in the space industry, like he can't be a truther. He's in the space farce. He's in the space industry. Deception. Yeah, it's the biggest deception. It's the largest deception. If you think of an overarching deception, space is it. Space is where it's at, because there's us. This is how the story goes. There's us, and then there's an atmosphere that protects us, and then there's space that crushes us if we go out there, and that's all that exists at all. And like that's all that else exists. And so if you believe in space, I don't know, like they have you. They have you in this. They've got you believing that you are insignificant in a way, and that like the toil on this life and to the toiling here and all this, I don't know. It's like if you believe in the biggest farce, the space. If you buy into space, which we all do, which I did, of course, which we all do because it's so good. Everyone loves space, and kids are taught space from the beginning. But if you buy into space, then you're primed to buy into everything else.
Aliens. You get the aliens.
And not just aliens here, but aliens all over. Aliens throughout time traveling aliens, and aliens on every planet and whatever, and life everywhere. And
you get your meteoroids and your asteroids and all this stuff. It just opens up loads, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
And question I asked it a while back now, and I got a lot of crap for it, really. And it was, if the sun's so far away, like 93 million miles away, when they show us space, why isn't it light? Why isn't it sunny up there if it can light up Earth?
Say that one more time. Say that again. Say that one more time.
If the sun's 93 million miles away, and they go up to space and they show us them floating around in space, why isn't it sunny up there? Why isn't it bright light? If we're looking up into the sky and I can't see that the sun's shining behind, why is space? Is it dark and it's not bright light? Why is it?
Space is very dark.
There's nothing to reflect off. But those astronauts they show us are just in front of the Earth. That it should be reflecting off the Earth, then, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. It should be a bright light. Right. And no stars either. There's never any stars in those pictures. There's no sun, there's no stars, there's no,
they always show you like a reflection of the sun in the visor of the astronaut.
Right, like a little bit of a lens flare or something, just to make it look dramatic. No, you're right, but there's no overwhelming light, which it should be. If the sun is what is, when you look at diagrams of how the size of the sun compared to all of the other planetary objects that are orbiting it. The sun is just absolutely massive, 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 massive. And so it should just be like blasting light, you know? You should be able to be just bathed in the sun's light when they're on the moon.
It shouldn't be dark up there at all.
Shouldn't be dark. It should be bright, 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 bright. Exactly. And they're just fooling us. They're fooling us, and they're making us they're telling us that things work in a certain way, and then they're showing us something else, but and it's incongruent, but we're not allowed to question it, and we don't, and then we just kind of believe two totally incongruent things, and I think it creates like a separation in our mind. I think when just like when back in the day when we had to, you know, hide under, our past generations had to hide under the desk for the nuclear fallout, you know, and if there's a nuclear attack, they would hide under their school desk to prepare for that. And it's like, you know, if the nuclear fallout's going to eradicate the entire universe or the entire world as we know it, hiding into your desk won't do a damn thing. But by making us go through this ritual and making us go through this understanding of like, well, one might protect us, like we're bifurcating our mind. We're creating this like fracture in our mind of reality and unreality where both of them can't be real. Like nuclear fallout can't both kill us and also be, you know, lessened by our being under a desk. And I think that,
yeah, and that's another thing. If it was real, the nuclear, they would have used it already. Yeah. Surely,
right?
They would have just used it. And if they wanted to do like this depopulation, they'd just do something like that, wouldn't they? They wouldn't vaccinate us, you know.
Right.
That's another thing that I like to do. Like the vaccine, like why would they choose to kill us all with a vaccine or depopulate us with a vaccine when there's so many other ways that they could do it? So many other ways.
Yeah, I know that Murph has talked about. Hey, Murph, jumping back in. I think that, you know, one thing that you've really talked about recently is the Lucy side of the vaccine.
When you guys were talking about the whole nuclear issue and the whole ritual, I hate that word ritual, but whatever, the ritual of going under the desk, right? Mm-hmm. For something that if it was true, it wouldn't protect you, right?
Right, exactly.
The whole vaccine thing popped into my head as being really? Analogous. If there was a true pandemic, right, mm-hmm. and viruses were real, mm-hmm. and viruses were contagious, and contagion was real. Mm-hmm. I think I did a post a while ago basically saying that if it was real, we'd all be dead. Mm-hmm. Especially Truth or Twitter.
Especially with the numbers that were originally reported. Remember, like we were supposed to be dying in the streets. We were supposed to be, it was supposed to be carnage. Yeah.
So the whole point of vaccines is not just the whole idea of getting people vaccinated, but in order to believe in the virus, you have to kind of, it's like a deal, mm-hmm. that belief in the vaccine is belief in the virus, and belief in the virus is belief in the vaccine. And getting people to go through the whole ordeal of doing the vaccine is cementing the notion that the virus is real. It gives the person that here's a problem and we're protecting you from it. Mm-hmm. And the savior is the state, mm-hmm. And the state is telling you the truth. Mm-hmm. So it's the same kind of thing as having a population believe in nuclear weapons, mm-hmm. and the imminence of, like when we were kids, like I don't know, I remember vividly whenever discussing in history class the whole thing with the Cuban Missile Crisis was the whole thing, like, you know, just as a kid you think kind of innocently, well, wait a second, if we send a nuclear bomb over to them, what's to stop them from sending a nuclear bomb over to us? Mm-hmm. Then of course the teacher introduces the notion of mutually assured destruction, right? With the acronym of MAD,
right?
And that's kind of when the notion that like 14-year-old kids sit there and realize, like, wait a second, like all of these adults, the presidents, and all of like basically, I made me kind of lose faith in society.
Mm-hmm. Like, society.
People are so retarded that like you send over a nuclear weapon to them, but then I think I actually asked the teacher the question when I was there. I said, well, you know, within 15 minutes they'd launch one against us, so what's the point? Mm. We'd all be dead. Everyone's dead. Mm-hmm. And they brought up the whole MAD thing, and I was like, what? This is really a word?
We have a name for this. We have a name for this concept. Yeah,
so you know, mm-hmm. it's kind of like the vaccine thing and the virus thing is very similar to the notion of nuclear weapons and saving yourselves by going into the bomb shelters. Even now in Brooklyn, there's areas here, buildings where they have the fallout shelter sign, And which is interesting because the fallout sign shelter, the signs are usually in yellow and gray.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there you go. It's a coding of danger. It's a coding of transmorphic things to come. There's a reason yellow and gray go together. It's both like the cerebral with the gray matter and also the illumination with knowledge with these suns, like the yellow sun.
The gray state.
The gray state. There's something there's something extraordinarily powerful about gray, the specific gray, and then mixing that with yellow. It's illumination and gray matter. Yeah. Very, very, very powerful to have those together with a nuclear signage, And I believe everything that we've ever been taught and told about nuclear power is extraordinarily fanciful, another fantasy, another fabrication. And I don't believe that there's anyone who has their finger on a button that could annihilate the world.
Yeah, but remember that when Biden first came, or before Biden came in, Pelosi and the rest of them introduced a measure on the floor of Congress to basically strip Trump of the ability to deal with nuclear codes.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Right, and they kept talking about like how dangerous it would be if Trump was in, and they just kept reinforcing the idea that there is one person who can do this, who can press one button, and there's always someone like carrying around quote unquote the football, He's like that's just like so farcical that there's always someone and what does a football do? It gets fumbled, just the idea that there's always someone with like this nuclear football that at any given time, like.
You guys remember the news conference in Helsinki when Trump met with Putin, and
which one?
It was the one where they questioned Trump about something about what had happened with the Russians or something like that, and Trump sided with Putin over the U.S. intelligence community supposedly, and it was a whole hoopla, whatever. And Trump tossed him a soccer ball.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the Q people thought that the codes and all of the goods on the elites was in like a computer chip or like a thumb drive inside the soccer ball.
Wow.
I'm serious. There was video.
I remember them thinking that.
Yeah, they said we have everything. Like the whole thing is that we have it all.
We have it all. Yeah.
It's in the ball, guys.
It's all in the ball. They always hide all the deception goes in the ball. Like
or a laptop. Or a laptop.
Oh yeah. It's always some laptop that gets turned in that then people commit suicide all around it. And it's like none of these people even existed. There wasn't even a laptop and
So Trump had the nuclear codes to destroy the world, which means Elvis had the nuclear codes.
Oh, that's right. Oh gosh, there's a whole Trump Elvis narrative, and
I can't turn that off.
Right.
I was just on the break. I was looking up photographs of Donald Trump Jr. Donnie actually looks like a young kind of Elvis.
Oh, that's interesting. Ooh. Okay.
It's a crazy one. This whole Elvis Trump thing.
I would say templates. I would say these characters are being presented in a certain way to remind us of things so that we naturally accept them. We accept people we're familiar with, even if we don't really recognize why we think that they're familiar. But if they, sprinkled a little bit of Elvis into the character of Donald Trump Jr., we naturally just like say, "Oh, come on through," I know that guy.
I think it's whatever. I don't care. I sound crazy. I'm known as Murph.
Go for it, Murph.
I think it really is Elvis.
Okay, cool. Okay. Wait, which one? Donald Trump?
My new thing now is we believed in so many crappy stories.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're almost like scared to believe in something that might be kind of cool.
Okay.
Because we think we're going to look crazy.
Sure.
Like Michael Jackson, he's alive. And Jack Crooner, he's playing Jack. I'm telling you. Mm-hmm. You watch the videos. If you give yourself over to it and immerse yourself in thinking that this is possible, as opposed to just thinking it's kind of crazy, it's a mask. Mm-hmm. The guy's wearing a mask. It's Michael Jackson, and he's living in Miami. I'm telling you.
I don't think Michael Jackson ever existed, though. So how's that work itself out?
I think he was a character myself as well, and I remember one of my posts on him as well, like, and. It definitely, I feel like he was all in some sort of silicone bodysuit or something, and you can just move him around, to whoever they want. I feel like it's like multiple characters played by one person.
I think that they make the character so ridiculous over time and so ever shape shifting, continuously shifting. Like Michael Jackson, and the cover was his obsession with plastic surgery. That was the cover, but that just kind of allows for different actors to play the physical form over time, and every time he's in person.
Another one that Merv posted, and I can't see it any other way now, is Justin Bieber in The Weeknd. I can't see it any other way. They're the same person.
I think Justin Bieber and The Weeknd are the same base, essentially. You know, whether they're both. I don't think Justin Bieber is The Weeknd, and I don't think The Weeknd is Justin Bieber. I think there's a base that is like mixed, that's being projected, like a version of a Justin Bieber that looks like The Weeknd. You know, like I think it's a formulaic character, and I think it's very interesting. It's very interesting.
But the difficulty with like artists, like musical artists or dancers, is there's like a physical requirement to it.
Yeah,
as opposed to a politician that just needs to read lines.
Right. There's a physicality towards it.
When you're listening to like Michael Jackson or whatever, I mean, I don't know. I'm a musician, so I find it difficult to think that someone like Michael Jackson could be kind of digitized, voice wise and dancing wise. I mean, he was a creative genius, I think.
He did moves that the human body really didn't do. You know, he introduced the moonwalk, which is configuring the human form in a way that's almost like a digital puppet. You know, almost like a.
It's all he's a master magician.
That's true. That's true.
It's all an illusion. He with the black loafers, the black penny loafers, and the white socks created the stripes of the energy.
Right.
And the pattern color of the white and the black. And he also pulled his pants up a little bit higher, so you could see a lot of white with his socks. So your eyes were taken off when he did his fancy footwork. I mean, you're looking at his feet. You're not looking at his body move. So it's really an illusion. There's patterns on the moonwalk, and also he did the gravity shoes where it looks like he's falling forward. They're like special shoes that are connected to the stage. I don't know. I personally think Michael Jackson is a genius. And if I could do anything, if I didn't have children, I'd go to Miami and and try to figure this one out myself.
You should at some point. Yes, at some point you should. You know, he is an extraordinarily fascinating character. I want to believe in the magic of Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 and the whole Jackson story. Other than the really traumatic. Well, I guess the whole thing was traumatic. I don't know. Maybe I don't want to believe in anything related to the Jacksons, because the whole Jackson story is a train wreck from the beginning. And maybe it's that way by design. And it's, gosh, there's not a good beginning or end to anything related to the Jacksons.
Yeah, and then they had all the skin bleaching and stuff like that. And that, again, it kind of puts a divide, and it brings the race victimization thing. And he wanted to be white because, for them kind of reasons. I feel like it brought a whole thing around that. He's just an entertainer, and again, keeping us all talking all the time.
I feel like sometimes these entertainers are designed to fall down in these spectacular ways, to keep these issues at the forefront. Michael Jackson introduced music to us in an extraordinary way and dancing to us in an extraordinary way, but he also introduced a lot of these dark themes, just like Tom Cruise went through his trajectory of being kind of like this awkward child star, to this hunky, young adult, to this Top Gun, to then on this rocket ride of Mission Impossible, and then down this comedically ridiculous low of
there's a pattern to it though, of these ones that we've seen from a child all the way through.
Right.
They're the one like Tom Hanks again. They all have this big thing around them, don't they, all the time? A big, just drama going on in life the whole way through.
In the spotlight, living in the spotlight with all the drama.
Seen from birth, like from a young child, we've watched them grow all the way up, and then now they've been loved, hated, back to loved again.
I have a hard time believing in any organic celebrities. Honestly, I have a hard time.
And do you believe that these singers actually sing and write their own songs like they tell us to do? I don't.
Some of them do.
I believe there's very talented people. Yeah. But I
yeah, but like, would they be allowed to release certain songs? Like some are pushing agendas all the time, aren't they? So do they come up with those words to put out there?
I do wonder how
given
many,
to them to think?
you know, how many top influence, the most influential artists, if you were to break down the most influential artists of all time, how many of those artists are genuine and genuinely wrote their songs, or are actually part of like a much larger machine that we just cannot see? And the songs were basically given to them, whether they were arranged for them or written for them, or, you know, in some way suggested to them, and like basically everything, every lyric, every melody, every, you know, every tambourine whatever. There's so many characters in the music world, and I do wonder. And I know that you were talking about recently the Kurt Cobain, Rivers Cuomo takedown. On are these the same? Are they the same? Are they like how are they connected at all? And
the question is, if the character goes off, if the character is written out of the script, right? Mm-hmm. Like what does somebody do like for the rest of their life? Right, like Kurt Cobain, if he was 27.
Sometimes they come back in as something else.
That's the whole thing, which kind of, I'm still on the fence about the whole Rivers Cuomo thing, and I'm more inclined to think because I'm a musician, I find it difficult to think that like all the music is digitized. So I would think that if anything, it would be that's Kurt Cobain, and there is no Rivers Cuomo.
Oh, really? Right? Interesting. Well, you can have like a face, you can have like a front man and a digital voice, you know, and you can just have like a look. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but music, I don't know. Music, I find maybe it is, and that's why I haven't written like the greatest album of all time yet, because nobody really has, and it's all like a weird computer program that's doing it.
And they just know what the human brain is programmed to like, which melodies that we'd be fluent.
Yeah, because all melodies, all songs sound very similar, don't they? And you have a thing at the radio station over here, it's like the music industry is running out of songs, and they're just remixing them up and stuff, and it does seem like that. And is it only allowed that certain music is allowed to be released, certain melodies are allowed to be released, you know, to tune our brains, because it can tune your emotions, music. So is it only certain kind of beats and stuff that are allowed to be released?
I think there's a reason we all get those earworms, you know, those songs that stick in our head and we cannot get rid of them. And the only way to get rid of it is to like listen to it. You know, there's a reason that these things catch in our brain. They're designed to. And you know, Rambo, you mentioned on one of your podcasts how these songs, they create these like energy, they take up energy in the background. They eat up some RAM in your brain, and I think that that's exactly what they do. That these songs, all this media that's put on us, that gets caught in our memory, you know, it's there for us to like lose our sense of peace in. We don't have any peace if we have a song stuck in our head. It's the opposite. It's the exact opposite of peace, because we're like, what's that song, you know?
It's artists like Lady Gaga, Ariana Grande, Bieber, The Weeknd, all them kind of Katy Perry, all them kind of stuff. They all sound real. The crappy songs, and then before you know it, you're whistling along and humming along because it's been bashed that much on the radio, you know.
Right. They put it everywhere. It doesn't have to be good. It just has to be catchy, you know. And we know it's not good. Yeah.
Them kind of songs are digitized. Definitely, I feel like those characters' songs, they've got all computer voices, really, and that voice synthesis.
But you know, music, you know, if you do play music and you're interested in music, you at least know how powerful it is, and how and really how extraordinary these albums are to put out, to even have the discography, the catalog of Michael Jackson. Like, good Lord, how much, like, how hard would that have been to compile that over, not even just over his, I mean, just an extraordinary amount that would have to be a generated amount of songs, material, melodies, just pure, unique. I don't think is a human mind capable of that, and then that excess. Maybe.
I think in a weird way, that's why characters like him. What happened to Rambo?
Oh no, Rambo will join back again. Maybe some internet issues.
I'll edit that out.
No,
don't worry, Rambo's coming back. Don't you worry, Murph. I know.
Rambo?
What happened to Rambo? I know.
My
that's
buddy
what I
Rambo left, and I'm bugging out.
My buddy Rambo. Okay, here he comes. Here comes Rambo. Let's put him back in. Oh, Rambo. There he is.
Rambo, you're upside down, Rambo.
Turn yourself right up. Y'all, we've got to get it together, but this is so fun. I'm glad we're a ragtag group of non-professional podcasters. That makes it even better. But we'll get better as we go. So I love it. All right. Murph, back on it.
One of the reasons why, at least I'm still kind of like, whatever, I'm still a little kid when it comes to musicians and stuff like that. And I still get all like, I love music too. Like, I realize that, yeah, partly it's a bad thing, but maybe it's a good kind of all the bad things that you could have. It's like the best of the bad things, whatever. But one of the reasons why they inspire such craziness, like an adoration, is because like we live in such a plastic world where people are so fake. And when a musician is something like a Michael Jackson that produces work that people can actually think that maybe this wasn't even a person, this was like something like, it's so impressive that it couldn't have been real, right? Like when you actually see that in real life, and it's almost like a life affirming that this is possible, that we are human, and human beings can do great things, human beings can create beauty, and human beings can be real. I think that's one of the reasons why we do go crazy about these people. That's why I go crazy about it, if I want to break it down, why I like the guy, you know?
And then you can see how they can use these people as then a tool, though, you know?
Yeah, yes. That kernel, that like little seed that they get from us, and we just buy into it and we believe it. I think that they can take that and manipulate us, and we kind of like lose ourselves. We lose ourselves in that trust.
And then these ones it always seems to be the ones that die in a weird death that can continue to release songs for years. It's like they're having a laugh, I think.
Yeah, you know, it's like a traumatic death. Yeah,
still bringing songs out now. You've got Juice WRLD still bringing songs out now, and it's just like, how could it be? You know.
Yeah, music does it eats up our energy, and it takes up our. I love listening to music, but I've been trying to go on walks and listen to nothing. I tend to listen to songs on repeat. And I kind of, that's how I like to do that. My brain likes to like resaturate itself with very specific songs. And I wonder if that's even, I wonder that it can't be healthy, you know, to be on repeat with something. We talk about like life in loop mode, and if I'm listening to a song on repeat, I'm really putting myself into a quite literally a looped status. So I've been thinking about that part of my psyche a lot lately, and I've been trying to listen to nothing, and I've been enjoying that, like just going for a walk and listening to nothing, just listening to the birds. Even, I wonder if there's anything embedded in the digital sound. I wonder if these wavelengths are manipulated in a certain way to, even if I'm listening to my favorite song that I love, that makes me feel wonderful, if there's something about the digital delivery system in my ears that could be negative in some way, maybe some sort of off-putting frequency that I'm not attuned to cognitively, but is still affecting me in some way. I wonder, like, is it making me sad, or is it making me feel a certain way? And I don't know. So that's an observation just from speaking of music.
Well, there was experiments done by, I can't remember the guy. He was a Japanese researcher who was on water and like saying good, like, putting different kinds of music and different words to water, and the composition of water changed. The crystalline structure of the water was like a geometric. Wow, geometry guy. I know a geometric, sacred geometry. When it was when positive sounds were introduced to the water, and when it was negative sounds, it didn't have the same kind of symmetrical patterns. So if we're 80% water, if you put discordant music, I mean, there's a reason why we don't like discordant sounds, and we like certain rhythms and certain patterns and melodies, is because it really does, it makes our body feel good because it's affecting us like that. I mean, taking away music, I don't think is necessarily a great thing.
Sound is so important. Sound is so important. We need good sound. And I do wonder if they've used music to introduce bad sound, for lack of a better term, good sound, bad
Of
sound.
course.
So I do wonder, but to your point, yeah, we don't need to take away sound. We just need to experience sound in a way that is harmonic and resonating beautifully and beneficially with our systems, with our body systems, our water-based body systems, if we are 80% water, as they say. So who knows?
And sometimes the most interesting thing about music and great music is music that is like will have a certain kind of like melodic kind of the music is melodic, but then the words are kind of sad. For example, like The Cure. Mm-hmm. People like The Cure because it's happy music with sad mixed with sad lyrics.
Yeah. Oh, there's entire industries built on on sad songs that sound happy. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, it's kind of an ultimate mind control device as well. These songs that manipulate us in a certain way. These songs that sound very upbeat and they get in our ear, but the messaging within them is actually really negative. That can affect us in ways that we don't really realize, because we're just kind of like, bopping along to the beat, but the message, just kind of like how back in the day, just really, really negative rap music where it was like super violent, but really catchy.
You're listening to it and you're listening to the beat, and really it's all about, I've got all of
yeah. Yeah, and it's all about like, it's about some like, some extraordinary stuff, not good stuff. But it sounds good, and so you experience it, and you all these things are resonating. It may be catchy, but doesn't mean it's good. Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
They push drugs, race, money, all sorts through music, in rap music. Anyway, don't you? You don't record, you just listen to the beat. Really, it's only when you really listen to the words. And remember the Kanye West song? I think I sent it you, and he's talking about colours and changing the colours and reality wearing off, and they need to reprint the colours. And it's like, I feel that they're telling us stuff in certain music as well, certain artists' songs.
Yeah, the rap industry is a fascinating. Now that you mentioned Kanye, I kind of forgot that Kanye was a rapper. I know Kanye is a rapper, but he's just so, for a minute there he was just Kim Kardashian's husband. It's kind of interesting, but he really is extraordinarily instrumental in bringing in narratives to just think of like millions. He's educating millions of people with his music. And if Kanye is a character, and now he's involved in politics with Trump, and also in religion with his own church service, like with his Sunday service, and we talk about these characters that really shape our reality. Kanye is he's an actor character.
Yeah. And his first album, The College Dropout, so he's gone on to do all that.
Right.
And the College Dropout.
Yeah, and like Steve Jobs was a college dropout, Bill Gates was a college dropout. Like he's like following in kind of that there, and so Elon Musk college dropout. So he's like following just by calling his album College Dropout. He's like declaring himself the Bill Gates or the Steve Jobs of the rap world. Like he's like, I'm the college dropout.
And he calls himself, what does he call himself? The Black Jesus. He pretty much calls himself, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like to be followed. Yeah. I believe that's what the message in that is, that he's to be followed, and I feel like he has got a good shout of that character becoming the president one day.
Could be, yeah, it could be. It's so strange.
I wouldn't be surprised. And you put him with a reality TV star, so then it makes
I know Trump was president. Exactly. Murph, what are your thoughts on Kanye, on like the character of Kanye?
I'm still thinking about the Biggie Tupac situation.
Oh, interesting. What are your thoughts there? Because that was a whole New York thing.
Either something's wrong with me, which may be the case, I don't care. But it's so easy for me to believe that these guys are dead or they become like somebody else. Mm-hmm. I'm totally sold on Tupac being alive and being that guy Akil the DJ. I think something like that. It's something that I killed the MC. Yeah, I killed the MC. And his name is literally I killed
the MC. And you believe that? You believe this?
I believe it. I'm telling you. You see the guy talking on the tour bus.
Like Elon Musk. It's so fake. It must be real.
You look at the crime scene. There's no blood.
Yeah, I don't think he died. I don't think. Yeah, I think
all
it was
these
all
people
fake.
get shot, and there's no body. I mean, I don't
That
know.
means there was no person. That means it's all fake.
Wow.
Well, I don't know. That's my Occam's razor at the moment. Okay, I will say I've got a very specific lens that I look through. I'm kind of blinded. I'm blinded by my own light sometimes. I will, and that's Murph. That's why I was so glad that you do not follow hook, line, and sinker with everything that I put out, because I feel like I need an adversarial element to my belief system. I do, because if you cannot throw your beliefs against the wall all the time and see if they stick or not, because they may not always, I think that like then they're too precious and they should be abandoned anyway. So I'm really glad that you come from a different place, and I can learn from you. I learn from you every time every time that you say something that is counter to what I believe. Even with the Michael Jackson stuff, you kind of had me going back and rethinking something that I was very strongly opinionated on, was thinking that he had to be a character. But listening to you, I'm like, okay, maybe I need to rethink this in a way that allows for a Michael Jackson and still a character in a way, So I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you.
I would love to
We're all learning.
Because you're limited. When you're on Twitter, you can put a YouTube connection up, you can put some images, some photographs, whatever, but you're not physically in front of somebody. Like, I would love to just have, like, if somebody says, no, that's crazy, I can't believe that. I would just love to, like, be locked in an apartment with them, or locked in a house with them, with a computer.
That'd get you arrested in many states. Just to lock someone in a.
I'm not letting you leave unless you admit to me that Michael Jackson is alive and living in Miami right now.
Yeah, we know how this one ends. We've all seen Law and Order.
People call the police. I've been kidnapped by this guy. He wants to convince me that it's Michael Jackson.
Yes, we all know how this episode ends.
If I could show people the specific videos, right? Listen to the music with them, right? And go over all these weird little facts. I'm telling you, I could sell it to everybody.
Okay. Well, we can probably make that happen without you locking people in an apartment. I mean, to be honest, yeah.
You understand what I'm getting at.
Yes, I get you. But now we have a platform, Murph. We can probably do this without committing, some sort of capital crime. Okay. Yeah, we'll make this happen. Let's put together. Yeah. Okay. I think this is actually great. I want to see some pics. I want to see some pics and videos of Michael Jackson, and I want to be convinced that he is more than just the character that I.
Like a boot camp. Like, we start off at a certain time, a certain video, then 50 minutes later, it's a different one. It's like summer camp, but for media stuff, whatever.
And I think that there's something actually to that. You could have a whole seminar on JonBenet Ramsey. You could have a whole other.
These are the kind of symposiums that we should have.
Sure. A whole forum. Absolutely. A campfire about the boogeymen that don't exist.
And Rambo at lunchtime, Rambo's going to talk about this.
Oh, for sure. Rambo's definitely going to talk about CGI. CGI for lunch with Rambo. Yeah, for sure. The sandwich doesn't exist.
And talking of things that don't exist, have you guys noticed on Twitter just recently, everything just looks extra fake, and I've seen stuff of this Fauci video everywhere as well, and his neck's flapping around, and everybody wants to see it.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. Yes, I have seen that. I've seen a major uptick in people sharing videos that appear to be extraordinarily fake looking. And they do. Yeah, mask looking videos. And it's so interesting because that is also something that you have been focused on so much, is the mask element of it, not just the CGI, because that's the fakery on one layer. That's, that's door number one. Door number two, the fakery museum is the mask, the silicone masks that like are an overlay, and it's exactly back to Tom Cruise. It's exactly what we would see in the Mission Impossible movies, when at the end of the movie they'd always like rip off this elaborate silicone mask, and it would go at the neck, and they'd rip it off. And that is what this particular video that you mentioned. That's the video that's being shared, is this Fauci video where his neck is like almost like a turkey at Thanksgiving. It's like gobble. It's like coming apart from his shirt, like gobbling.
And then not long before that, they had the Biden one where you could see on his neck the Biden picture where you could see it was a mask. And it's like they're trying to show us that now, and whether it's being pushed a lot though. So to me, that shows that they want us to see that, or is it just the computer algorithm giving us what we want?
Oh, that's a great point. That's an excellent point, because we are in a vacuum. We are in a thought vacuum. And I think that we need to recognize that. As much as I love seeing this fake stuff, and I share it and I see it and I look for it and I hunt for it, I wonder if that in itself is creating like its own universe, its own specific universe for me. And that's all I'm able to see, because that's all I'm seeking. Same with y'all. I wonder if we kind of get caught in our own lens, our own whatever binoculars we're looking for, are trained on a very specific view, and that's all we're going to see and experience. So I want to be cognizant of that as we explore. All that said, it's all fascinating, so I can't stop looking.
People typing on Twitter, Fauci wears a mask, Biden wears a mask, and after a while, we keep picking up Fauci wears a mask.
So many people are sharing it now.
It's like giving us what we want all the time.
But more people than I've ever seen are sharing it. Accounts that I've never seen sharing stuff like this, how they think that these people are CGI. These major players are CGI, and that's kind of just it being introduced very casually right now. I think that's happening for a reason. And again, back to the Tom Cruise deepfake, that being shared over and over, and it being covered in a way that's not just on a social media element, but it's also being covered by like scientific publications, or in like the Financial Times is covering it, and the Scientific American is covering it, and like the Times of London is covering it, and it's being covered by all these different facets, because they want you to see it from for some reason, they just really want us to see this Tom Cruise deepfake right now, Interesting. The time is now.
Is it that they're showing us all this because it is true, but then because it's mainstream, people like ourselves then believe it's not true?
Again, back to the beginning, I think that they're showing us, but they're not telling us the real story. I think that they're showing us this technology and being like, oh, guys, look out for this. But they're not saying, hey, this technology with the face swapping has been around for decades, and it's how everything runs. Everything exists on this. Like everything that you see, all of your favorite people, all of your favorite, silver screen stars from the 40s and 50s, they were deep fakes, like Marilyn Monroe, she didn't exist. She was a deep fake. Like, I think all of these, like this technology just to put a new face on a body is so intrinsic in everything that we know. It's always been there, and they're telling us that it just got off the ground in 2017. I think that is absolutely farcical and ridiculous, and it just makes it's akin to the nuclear fallout and being under a desk. If you believe that deep fakes just came into existence in 2017, then you're hiding under a desk for a nuclear bomb. Yeah, it has been around for so long, and all the characters throughout time, they're manipulated faces, and the technology changes. The technology to pull this off changes, but the concept of deep fakery, which is an identity overlay, or a complete fabrication, like a complete ground up fabrication, or just overlaying an element like the face, that is not new.
I think they've got a plan for it for the future, and I think it's going to play into the Q. That's what I'm feeling at the minute. It's going to play into the Q thing.
There has to be a payoff. You're right. There has to be a payoff to this Q thing, because it was too big of an energy engine. There's no way that the Q thing doesn't pay off.
Like it kind of gone quiet.
It just disappeared. It just went quiet. Yeah, you're right. I would agree with that. What do you think, Murph? I know that you weren't as big into the Q stuff, but it did disappear. So what are your thoughts on how that would re-submerge with this conversation?
Yeah, I think they invested too much into it to just let it die.
Yeah. Yep.
It's kind of curious because, I mean, you notice on Twitter that a lot more accounts than I initially thought just kind of disappeared.
Totally.
Because some people, like, I kind of remember them, and like I remember them at somebody else, and I just realized now that I just haven't heard from them. I haven't seen any comments from them in, like, 2 months now or something like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of them I didn't even know that they were Q people per se, but they're just gone. It's disappeared. I think I read there was someone wrote some on one of the threads that but on one of the deep fake things, saying that I think you guys may have said it in the beginning of the podcast, but that the deep fake stuff was coming out because when the Epstein videos finally come out, they're going to say, "Oh, that's fake." So like Trump is going to get, or like Biden, Biden, being with little boys or little girls, something like that. They're going to say, "Oh, that's a deep fake," or something like that. So that's kind of what the way that they're looking at it. And I think on one of them I wrote, because the girl started getting a bunch of likes on this particular Epstein one. So I wrote, Epstein, every image we have of Epstein is fake.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, like my thing, everyone just ignored that and went straight to her thing.
Mm-hmm. The more salacious, yeah.
And it's surprising how many people still believe in the Epstein stuff, because we are in kind of an echo chamber, and our echo chamber is kind of big. So we kind of don't realize that it is, but once we step out of our thing and somebody else comes in, they look at it as like, these people don't think anybody's real.
Yeah, and it kind of tarnish that as well. Like everything, you call everything fake and all that stuff, but it's not. It's not everything, is it? It's just what we're being shown. These characters.
Right. There's so much that's real. There's so much that's real.
When you say Epstein's fake, you then against all this child traffic. You're against all that, then so they made it a sensitive subject. If you say it's real, if you say it's fake, then you're against all these crimes he's accused of. You kind of saying all that's fake as well, basically.
And everyone that's personally crusaded for saving the children, which we all had that in our heart. Whenever you go into the Q rabbit hole, if you go into it, it's like save the children. It really is about like protecting the children and saving the children if you believe in it. And if someone were to come alongside you and say Epstein doesn't exist, and not only does Epstein not exist, but this entire narrative and the entire understanding of Epstein Island and the Clintons themselves, because the Clintons are such a humongously strange part of this whole story, and the whole Clinton body count, all of that, everything, every bit of trauma, every lost life, every tortured child, if all of that doesn't exist, poof, in an instant, like that's quite incredibly freeing.
But when you look at it, it's not a bad thing to see it as fake. Yeah, they don't want to go there because they'd rather believe it's real. They want to believe it's real
because they worked so hard towards it. They worked so hard towards it.
And there's going to be someone held accountable for it and stuff like that. But the whole thing is fake. Yeah, and
it kind of gives you the interesting. It's like a perception experiment where you give people a certain set of facts, and then also come out and give them reasons not to believe it. And if you give people a choice between a good story and an awful story, because we're kind of conditioned to think that things, like almost like Murphy's Law, if something could go wrong, it's going to go wrong, right? Like people will choose the shitty story. So that's why I'm very firm about this Michael Jackson thing, because you could either think, oh, the guy died, 50 years old, miserable, the world's hounding him because he's a pedophile, and he was, he was all with these crazy drugs, like IVs in his, you know what I mean? It's like the tragic figure of the man who became so famous, but was miserable and wasn't happy with himself. Or it could be a great escape plan where the guy's in Miami and nobody even, and people, even if you tell the world this guy's in Miami, Michael Jackson never died, they think you're crazy. So he can live his life completely free, wearing a mask, and nobody's going to believe it because people will choose the shitty story over the happy story.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, and whatever we choose to believe is what we believe. You know, whatever way we point our, yeah. We are not always
I'm
in
really
control.
interested to see this Michael Jackson.
I know. I want to.
Seen most of it.
I do.
It's a great one, guys. It's really a great one.
That's so interesting.
There's 2 songs. Check this out. He does a cover as well. It's Jack Crooner. Basically, Michael Jackson covering Jack Crooner, covering Frank Sinatra, singing "I've Got You Under My Skin," wearing a mask. Check this out. A guy wearing a mask singing "I've Got You Under My Skin." I'm telling you. Hey.
You can't write that. I mean, yes, you can. It's like the overlay. How many overlays can you get on
art imitating life?
Imitating art. Imitating life. Imitating art. Imitating life. Yeah, it's all over the place. I used to tweet that a lot. I used to tweet art imitating life, imitating art. You know, it's like it's like this like rev, this engine that just keeps going, and it's like the chasing of it's the Ouroboros too. You know, it's like which one is the origin point? Because like it's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. It's so interesting. And if Michael Jackson's doing all of these things, but like pretending and on these layers of deception, I still don't think that I still am in the mind of what human vibration would think. And she would say, or human vibration would say that this person does not exist, that Michael Jackson does not exist, but I'm open to it. Because I kind of want to believe the magic too. So I don't know. Well, maybe we'll come around. Maybe we'll come around on Michael Jackson existing or not.
Don't make me have to lock you up.
I know. Officer, I swear. I swear we were just learning. It was just this, it was off in the name of learning.
School with Murph. For school.
God. They're like, Murph, not again. This is the 3rd time this week.
I promise I'll be good next time.
Oh boy. Oh goodness. Well.
Oh, one last little thing.
Yeah.
I was regarding the Elvis Trump situation, right? Somebody.
Oh boy, coming back to that.
It's a great one. It's a great one too. Somebody made a cool comment. Check this out. Remember how Elvis's life was ran by the Colonel?
No. What do you know? I know he was in the army and
his manager. His
manager's name was the Colonel. I didn't
know. It was a nickname.
Okay.
Called the Colonel or whatever like that. But he basically managed Elvis's life. He was like an integral part of Elvis's life until he supposedly died in 1971, right?
Right.
So Elvis had the Colonel. Trump has General Flynn. Hey.
These kind of elusive, like military style guiding lights. Yeah, totally.
And Flynn left the army in 2014 after 33 years exactly of service.
It's all just theater of war, theater politics is theater. It's all just the reason these things are interconnected and winding is, and they all share the same path, it seems, is because they're all just, it's cut from the same cloth, you know, it is all the same path. There's the reason these things interconnect, and it's not because they're not related. It's because they are related, but they're related by deception, I think. Some sort of like grand theatrical design is what ties all of these crazy stories together. It always kind of loops back around. And
maybe when we all die, we find out we're just the figments of one man's imagination.
Well, I do think we're all one. So that's interesting that you say one man. I think that's interesting that you say one man. But maybe in a way, but I know what you mean. Maybe you do mean one man in God's mind. I do think we're all one.
Figments of God's imagination.
That's interesting. And I'm with you on that. I do believe that what consciousness is, what our experience is here on earth together as these shared individual units is like a mirror that has been dropped down and shattered into a million pieces. And just because the fragments are separate and shining in all different directions and reflecting in all different directions doesn't mean that at some point they were all connected. And I think that that's kind of what we're experiencing. We are, as humans, as individual beings, we are all part of the same mirror. And if we can put it all together, then we can see this one picture, like a puzzle. You know, we all have these individual puzzle pieces. And if you can connect with people, like you can see a little bit more of the puzzle. And if you can connect with everyone, if we could somehow connect with everyone, we could truly see that, together we could all see this grand picture of what we all mean together. And maybe that's why that's why we're so disconnected, and maybe why Corona has us 6 feet apart, and like everyone just wants us disconnected and severed in every way and untethered. And I think it's because we are one at the end of the day. And every lesson individuals learn goes into some sort of like larger collective understanding, and the universe is just kind of experiencing itself through us.
The diagram that remember the company that creates all of the fake art and rendering. There's like a company.
Zuma.
Zuma.
Zuma Press. Yeah, of course. I hope we talk about them a lot. Yeah.
They own the copyright on the Corona image, I think.
Yes, absolutely. And John Bonet's imagery. Yes, sir.
I posted it yesterday or this morning or something like that. But basically, I was doing the whole thing with Ferris wheels, magnetrons, the circular thing that, and it looked like the diagram of the COVID cell.
With the spikes. Oh, with the spikes on it. Yes, with the Oh, wow. The Ferris wheel does
basically
represent
an energy thing. It's a Ferris wheel. It's a magnetron. It's a
interesting.
A labyrinth as well.
Oh, it's a labyrinth as well. Wow.
And then somebody posted a something from like the 16th century, a rendering of what they thought the world looked like, right?
Okay.
And it had like red balls around a blue ball. Well, that sounds funny. Anyway, and it literally had the same exact colors even as the Corona diagram.
Interesting. Oh, wow.
And somebody said that when you almost like did they do this so that we subconsciously look at it and see that the world is sick?
Oh,
right. Because I mean, if people can get that sick, I mean, if we're just part of the world, whatever, the world is essentially sick.
Our inputs do influence our overall being. If we're ingesting negative imagery and things that make us feel a certain way, we will turn in that direction inside. We can see ourselves sick and think ourselves sick and hear ourselves sick. We can experience life in such a way that we become ill from it. I believe. I think that's how our immune systems work. I think that's how our body systems work. I think they're in general pretty stellar when we're healthy, when it's healthy and robust. But then I think certain inputs can over time like eradicate our wellness in that way. And we can get sick just by the things that we allow into our mind, into our eyes, into our ears.
Thought, I believe that as well.
Yeah, you can be so rotten, or you could or even traumatized. Sometimes it's not even your fault. You can be traumatized in a certain way, and that can eat at you. It really can eat at your soul, and it may not even be your fault. It may have nothing to do with you, and you could still be completely traumatized by something in your life, and that will eat away with you more than a battery acid would in a way.
There's certain people that, I mean, like there's one person I knew, and he had a relationship with somebody, and the thing that I couldn't get over is the person that is kind of a sad story where their mother passed away when she was young, right? And it was really odd because like I didn't know her close, but I knew the guy quite close, and literally not even knowing her very well, every time I'd get together and to meet with them, the girl would talk about her dead mom and the sickness, right? And it became kind of strange because it was almost like every time I'd ever see them, it'd always be a conversation about the sickness, about something. And I never really said it to my friend, right? Because I didn't want to, it was just an awkward kind of thing. But I wanted to say to him, like, man, like this person's like guaranteed to be sick just like the mom.
Yeah.
Because that's all they think about. That's all they talk about.
The energy register is the same.
And when I reached out to contact the person quite recently, they sent me a text saying that the reason why they didn't get back to me was because, sure enough, the wife is a kind of a debilitating sickness.
Oh no! Wow.
And it came full circle to me, and I realized, like, the power of the mind really is that much. That much. That this person kind of thought themselves into it.
Stress and anxiety and negative emotional energy is the most toxic experience that the body can undergo, more so than any sort of physical shock. you can think yourself into, you can think yourself to death. You really could. You could give yourself a heart attack. You can shock your body system in such a way just by traumatic thinking. It's pretty incredible.
I believe as well it can work the other way as well. You can think yourself well as well.
Yes, absolutely. We can heal ourselves. Yes. And that is just as the pendulum swings, that's the duality. That's the power of duality. You know, for every negative thing that we say and bring up in this show, that I want to totally recognize that the pendulum swings the other way. There's a beauty on the other side, just as powerful as our negative energies can be and bring us into a state of dis-ease, of disease. We can and do and will are able to heal ourselves through our positive emotional states, through our we can heal ourselves through our thinking as well.
We need to come up with a word for the opposite of louche. We
do.
Right? Poosh. I was thinking earlier today, poosh doesn't sound good though.
You know, louche, I want to be clear on this though. Louche is any emotion away from bliss. Bliss is at the center. And then fear and anxiety and trauma and everything is over here on the blue side, the negative side. And then you got bliss in the middle. And then over here you've got love and attraction and joy and all these, and hope and all these positive things on the other. All of those things can create the louching effect. There's nothing worse than heartbreak. There's nothing worse than being in love and getting that love crush. There's nothing worse than being hopeful for a presidential candidate and getting your president and having them lose and being crushed. You know, just as louche is the spectrum of emotion, I believe. And I'm not to say that there aren't blissful positive emotions, because I think that there are certain states that we can be in that aren't louching, that are positive. But I do want to say that there are some states that we can get ourselves into a frenzy over that seem positive, but are setting us up for the opposite, or are setting us up to be taken under by our emotions. I don't know. It's an interesting exploration. You're right in that the negative is the louche, but I also believe that the louche could be just every high stakes energy. Just like if you're a gambler in a casino, that feels great, probably, that high, being rolling the dice or putting down your whatever, your cards, your chips, all those things. You know, that probably feels extraordinary, but is that good? Is that positive? I don't know. I have a feeling maybe not. I have a feeling there's certain frenetic energies that feel positive, maybe, that are not actually positive in the whole register of feelings. Maybe we just are tricked into thinking that they're positive.
With the physics of electricity, you're not going to get a charge without a corresponding opposite to the negative.
There you go.
You need to have the positive.
There you go.
You're not going to get a charge. If it's just all negative, you're not going to get anything. It's just whatever.
Yeah. There you go. It always goes back to that, the duality, the polarity. You have to have the opposites. There's the power when the two opposites, when you just hold two magnets together, you know, that you try to put those polar opposites together, you feel that energy, that field in between. You can feel it. There's a true energy charge when you deal in polarities. It's easy to test for yourself. And when you take that simple test by putting, you know, two opposite magnets together, trying to push them together, and you feel the energy of them pushing each other apart, all of the theoretical magnetism and all of the theoretical polarity that we experience in our day-to-day lives, that also creates an energy field in our minds. You know, these polarities of politics, the polarities of just everyday life, like all, you know, religion, our systems, our sports teams, our just everything is polarity, this swirling division that actually creates an energy force. If you were to treat it as a magnet that you're holding together, these things create forces. And yeah, we get kind of taken under.
Sometimes.
What is reality? We talk about everything is fake. We got to end. Let's end with this. Let's end with what is real. Let's end with what is real. You know, when I go for a walk without my headphones on and I really just feel the sun on my skin, listen to the birds, even if this world isn't real, like to plug into it is meaningful and special sometimes, and to be really connected in the very moment that you're in is a powerful thing that you can do to take back our autonomous life, our not even autonomous life, but our automatic life, where our lives are so automatic sometimes. And so just to unplug and to experience all the different things that are happening around you.
That's real. Yeah.
Yeah, that's real. That's what's real. That's what's real.
And that's like for anyone, like listening or anything, like everything you're seeing on screen might not be real. We might call it fake, but you yourself are real.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What do you think, Murph? Are you real?
I think so. Hope so.
We hope so. We hope so.
I have my doubts every once in a while.
We all do. I mean, that's all we do. A lot of people wonder if I'm a robot, and I like to say I'm not quite sure. Jury's still out. The jury's still out.
That really scares me.
This could be a complicated version of Westworld, and I'm here for it. I'm ready. I'm ready to play that game. So we'll see. All right. Well, this was a fun one. I'm so honored to be able to talk to you guys, and this is the best part of my day. And I can't believe that this universe that we have created here on Twitter has allowed us to connect in this way and on this podcast. And I can't wait to see what we uncover next with our real eyes.
Yeah, real eyes.
What we realize next with our real eyes. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Thank you guys. Have a great night.
You too.
Thanks.